Hare Krishna, Thiruvaiyaru, Narayana, Narayana, Narayana.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Narayanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Narayanaya. Shuklambaradharam Vitnam Sachivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyaye Sarvavighnopashantaye Ananta Samsara Samudratara Naukaitabhyam Guru Bhakti Davyam Vairagya Samradyata Pujanabhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam Anjananandanam Veeram Janaki Shokanashanam Kapisham Vande Lanka Bhayankaram. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Govindaya Namo Namaha Govindaya Namo Namaha. After describing Bhagavat Mahima, glory of Parabrahman, and Bhagavat Rupa Varnanam, especially Tirumeni Varnanam of Sri Guruvayurappan, Bhattadri ends in chapter 2 extolling Hare Guruvayurappa. I realized that once I immerse in your Kathamritam, reading and listening to your name and Katha, I am automatically qualified to experience that bhakti which will take me to you totally, resulting in Brahma-jnana siddhi. Especially, it will be easy. Kindly therefore bestow in me the intense love that a Bhakta possesses. This is how he ends the previous, when he talks about the Bhagavan's Rupa Varnanam. This came up for Bhattadri from Krishna's message to Arjuna. Manmanam hava madbhakta madhyaji mam namaskuru mameva Aishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosime. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. It's an automatic process. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Patanto namani Pramadabhara Sindau Nipatitaga Smaranto Rupam Te Varada Katayanto Gunagataga Charanto Ye Bhaktas Tvaikaluramante Paramam Paramam Manaham Tanya Dhanyan manye samadhigata sarvavilashita. Hey Guruvayurappa, I consider those devotees of you as blessed ones. Those who chant your Nama, do the Nama Kirtanam. Meditating on your charming form, that is Rupa Dhyanam, and sharing and narrating your delightful and meritorious stories, Katha Shravanam and Pravachanam, descending into the ocean of your infinite bliss and wanting nothing but moving around always in your thought. This slokam reminds me of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa saying, when you dive into samsara for material pursuits, it is like immersing into a salty ocean, absolutely salty. It will only choke you in matter of minutes, if not in seconds, to death. But when you immerse into the Ananda Sagara of Paramatma, through one of the means that was said earlier, you will feel the eternity of bliss, the Amrutam or nectar of peace and tranquility. Why are the Bhaktas so elevated and important? Why should Bhattadri melt at the very mention of Bhakta Samuham? The answers are peppered all over our scriptures. Let us see what Adi Shankara says in Viveka Chudamani about the qualities of holy Mahatmas, Bhaktas, who do good to all for no reason or no benefit. Shanta Mahanto Nivasanti Santaha Vasantavati Lokahitam Charantaha Tirna Swayam Bhima Bhavarnavam Tirna Swayam Bhima Bhavarnavam Janan Anyanabi Tarayam Taha Janan Yetu Anyanabi Tarayam Taha. Adi Shankara says, there live the saintly people with tranquility, noble minds, who live by the highest of ideals. And like the spring season, they move and do things for the welfare of the world, themselves having crossed the dreadful sea of worldly life. They then take others as well with them to help them cross the perils of Bhava, to go across the Bhava Sagara and easily cross over without any motive. What they do as sadhus, they absolutely do not expect any compensation, not even a praise, not even a recognition that they are doing it. They are the real acharyas and bhaktas. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Krishna also says the same words in the words of Sukha Brahma. Tulaya manalave napi na swargam na punarbhavam Bhagavad Sangi Sangasya Bhagavad Sangi Sangasya Martyanam Kimuta Sishaha. The value of a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord. With sadhus, even is an infinitesimal second acquaintance is sufficient. That cannot even be compared to the attainment of Swarga or liberation, freedom from rebirth. And what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are those who are meant for death, all these things. You know who said this? Sage Prachetasa says to Narada. Unfortunately, Narada gets a curse from Daksha Prajapati. In fact, Daksha Prajapati is one of the 10 Prajapatis who have been ordained to create this world right after Pralayam. But when Daksha creates children, 100, 200, 500,000 like that, and he wants them to go and propagate, Narada intervenes and meets them separately and takes them to the path of salvation and say, don't get into samsara. So he was doing something sneakily counterproductive to what Daksha's mandate was. So finally Daksha gets very angry. So what he says is, you are saying liberation, swarga, this and that, freedom from rebirth, and what to speak of all this? My job. You are interfering with my job. So what happens is Narada gets cursed. Daksha says, you will be going around the world, but you can never stay in any one particular place overnight. You will only be a sanchari. You will not have a home, nobody will own you, and you will be a nomad forever in your life. Anyway, let's not go into the story, which is pretty long there. But sage Prachetasa, who is another Prajapati, he says to Narada, this tulayama lavenapi nasvargam na punarbhavam. Sadhavo hridayam bhikyam sadhunam hridayam tvaham madanyattena jananti nagam tebhyo managapi. This is Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, it is Sukha to Parikshit. The devotees are always in my heart. This is what Krishna says, which Sukha repeats. And I am always in the hearts of the devotees. So it's mutual. They are in my heart and I am in their heart. The devotee does not know anything beyond me. And I cannot forget the devotee. There is a very intimate relationship between me and the pure devotees. Pure devotees are called the Shuddha Bhaktas. In full knowledge, are never out of spiritual touch, and therefore they are very much dear to me and eternal to me. Dakyam mayani tirtani na deva mrichila mayala te punantyurugalena darshana deva sadhava. No one can deny that there are holy places with sacred rivers, or that the demigods appear in deity forms made of earth and stone, like the Pratimas, Archavatara Murtis. But all of those purify the soul. Whether it's a Brahmajnanam or rivers or the Archavatara Murtis, they all purify the soul after a long time. Whereas saintly persons, sadhus, you fall at their feet, they instantly purify you by the very sight, just being seen. Nirapeksham munim shantam nirvairam samadarshanam anubrajamyagam nityam uyeyet angrirenu bihi. This is also Srimad Bhagavatam on the methods of bhakti and what is the shortcut. With the dust of my lotus feet, the devotee's lotus feet, who says that? Krishna says. With Padaduli, Angri Renu of my devotees, I purify the material worlds, and they are the instruments for me to help so that I can purify the worlds which are still situated within me, undoubtedly. Thus, I always follow the steps of my pure devotees instead of they following me, because they are the ones who are free from all personal desire, wrapped in thought of my pastimes, my peaceful, without any feelings of enmity, and of equal disposition everywhere. And final cap of the whole thing is in Krishna Chaitanya's Shikshastakam. Pranadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena Kirtaniya Sadaharihi. Who are these sadhus? How do you identify them? One who thinks himself lower than the grass, Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarorapi Sahishnuna, who is more tolerant than a tree. We do all the abuses in a tree, but still the tree gives us the shade. Even after cutting all the branches, leaves and everything, still the stick around the time of the sun, it still gives you the shade. Such is the tolerance of a tree, and sadhus are as tolerant, if not more tolerant. And who does not expect a personal honor yet, not even a recognition, is always prepared to give all respect to others. They don't need respect, but they give respect to others. That's a sadhu. They can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord, because that comes in their mind automatically. Kadaklishtam kashtam tava charana seva rasabhare apyana saktam chittam bhavati pada vishnu guru dayam bhavat padam boja smarana rasiko nama nivaham agam gayam Puhachana vivatsyami vijane. Bhagavane Hare Vishnu, it's a pity that my mind, having been afflicted by the physical ailments that I am going through and the mental anguish that is a result of my physical ailments, the mind does not focus on your lotus feet, although I realize that it is the greatest, if not the ultimate bliss, once I get the focus, that one can ever pray for. I pray for your grace and blessings, and that I should perpetually be desirous of meditating on your lotus feet, doing your Nama Sankirtanams repeatedly, and live in solitude with no distraction. Aham gayam kuchana vivatsyami vijane. I should be all alone, just to repeat your Namam, so that I am not disturbed by any material distraction. Ishwaranugraha deva bhaktir bhavati keshave. Devotion to Keshava develops only if there is divine grace. In order to get his grace to focus completely on him, one should do Nama Sankirtanam. That's the quintessence of this slokam, which is the simplest of all paths and efforts that directly pleases him to get close to him. Avashenapi yannamni kirtite sarvapadakai puman vimanasche sadhyaha simhastrai mrugairiva. If a helpless person calls out for help, he gets instantly set free of all his sins by Paramatma. Like an animal released by a pack of wolves when confronted by a lion. When our material pursuits are all bogging us down and we just use the Nama Sankirtanam to relieve us of all the distraction, he comes as a lion and tears us away from all these material distractions, which are compared to wolves here. Dhyayan krite yajñan yajñai tredayam dvapare archayan yadapnoti tatapnoti kalau sankirtya keshavam. This is how we say in Nama Sankirtanam in one of the preliminary slokas in the early introductions. This is Vishnu Purana. Vedavyasa says this. Whatever is achieved by tapas or dhyanam in Krita Yuga, by performing the most superior of yajñams and Treta Yuga, worshipping by Arkanam in Dwapara Yuga, is simply achieved by Nama Sankirtanam in Kali Yuga. Kripate jata chet Kimivanagilabhyam tanubrutam Madhya kleshauka Prashamana dasha namakiyati Nakeke lokesmin anishamai Shoka virahitaha Bhavat bhakta muktaha Shoka Gatim ashakta viddhate. Unnuடைய அருள் இருந்தால் மட்டும் போரும். As long as I have your grace, your compassion. Guruvayurappa, what is not attainable by human beings, if you bestow your grace on them? I know, because that's what Bhattadri says. I have watched. When your devotees are blessed by you, they are completely taken care of. So, how trifling is it for you to eradicate my sufferings or ailments in a nanosecond? Why is that you are not still coming in front of me and taking care of me? Who among your bhaktas who surrendered unto you do not reach the eternal bliss instantaneously? And they attain liberation from this Bhavasagara. Thus, why you can't make me your bhakta, which is the answer to all my questions. That's what I have been doing the pralambam. ஆவாரார் துணையென்று அலை நீர்க்கடலுள்ளழுந்தும் நாவாய் போல் பிறவி கடலுள் நின்று நான் துளங்க தேவார் போலத்தோடும் திருச்சக்கரம் சங்கினோடும் ஆவாவென்றாருள் செய்தடினோடும் ஆனானே. தேவாதி தேவனை சென்று நாம் செவித்தால் ஆவாவென்று ஆராய்ந்து அருளேல் வரம்பாக. This is what Andal said. The Pasuram which I now just sang is Nammalvar Thiruvaiyaru. When there is a ship about to sink and capsize, all the passengers struggle and they are in panic. But who is the savior? The sailors worry, shiver, run, panic and run around all over. Same thing, I have been shivering with terrific fear that I am drowning in samsaric ocean. This is what Nammalvar says. I cannot believe Nammalvar saying this. It's Emperuman who saved me from this ocean of births and deaths. So Nammalvar says even before those things are going to be, even before I experience, Bhagavan saved me from the Bhavasagara. The personification of exquisite divine beauty, Emperuman, came with Paripurna Kataksham on me and said, I will save you definitely. Ava vendarul seid adinodum anane, and saved me and joined me. Because I am his property, which he knows very well, and he protected me completely. Thiruvaiyaru says in Thirukural, Piravi Peringadal Ninduvar Nindar, Irevan Adi Serada. Those who surrender unto him will cross the ocean of the births, ocean of death, and will not cross those who do not surrender to the feet of the Lord. Muni Braudaruda Jagati Galugudatmagadayo Jagati Galugudatmagatayo Bhavat Padam Boja Smarana Virujo Naradamukha Charantisha Swairam Satata Parinirbhata Parachit Sadananda Advaita Sadananda Sadananda Advaita Prasara Parimagna Kimaparam. Great sages like Narada are Jivan Muktas. They are the class of devotees already granted liberation. But they are not stopping there. But they continue living in this mortal world to enjoy the Kirtanam and the Prabhavam in this Kali Yuga. But they also have a purpose. They will only leave the body when they want to leave, when it is about to be discarded, when the fruit of their karmas are completely exhausted. Because even for Narada, he has so much punyam he has to exhaust before he comes to Paramapadam. Shivaikuntam is a place where you cannot have any bank balance. You should completely come and become one with Paramatma. So even Narada has to roam around, do all that to everybody. They are usually invisible to ordinary mortals, and their actions are oriented towards curtailing evil and promoting universal well-being. Mundaka Upanishad says, Vidyate hridaya grantihi chidyante sarva samsayaha Chiyante chasya karmani tasmin drishte parapare. The meaning of this particular Mundaka Upanishad Vakyam is beautifully, exquisitely explained by Adi Shankara. The fruit of the knowledge of Paramatman is stated to be in abandonment. Loosened is the knot of the heart, Hridaya Grantihi. The group of tendencies in the mind due to ignorance, the desire which clings to the intellect according to the Vedas, the desires which lie embedded in the heart, etc. These are attached to the heart, namely the intellect, not to the Atman. Vidyate undergoes destruction. Doubts regarding all knowable things have their solution. Doubts which perplex worldly men up to their death, being continuous like the stream of the Ganges, of the man whose doubts have been solved and whose ignorance has been dispelled, such karma as was interior to the birth of knowledge in this life, such as it was performed by him in previous births and had not begun to bear fruit, and such as it was existing at the birth of knowledge came to an end. But not that karma which brought about his birth, for it had begun to bear fruit. He, the omniscient, not subject to samsara, both high and low, I as being the cause and low as being the effect. When he is seen directly as I am that one attains emancipation, the cause of samsara being uprooted. Bhattadri names this realization, which I just said in Mundaka Upanishad, as Sadananda Advaita Prasara Parimagna, as you saw in the slokam. Non-dual supreme bliss consciousness is Sadananda Advaita Prasara Parimagna. The happiness of becoming one with the Brahman, that is the bliss. Then Bhattadri asks the question, Kim Aparam? What else is to be achieved once the supreme bliss is already there in Siddhi? In the next sloka, sloka 5, Bhattadri says, I do not have even the slightest trace of doubt that devotion to you alone will be the panacea for all my sufferings internally and externally. It's not out of doubt I am pleading to you. It is because of knowledge that is the panacea I am begging to you. Well, of course, may my devotion, which is nothing but immense love for you, become perfected in all respects with your grace. Because that's the path. The path is proper devotion, Shuddha Bhakti. I may not have the Shuddha Bhakti, that's why I am suffering. My perils, my struggles, my daily sufferings are all thanks to the Bhakti which does not have the focus and total belief. So give me the Shuddha Bhakti. If what I say about your love and grace are not true, your own statements and what Veda Vyasa, who is none other than your own incarnation Krishna, have been reiterating as absolute truths, they will all lose their value and will degenerate to the level of prattling of ignorant mendicants. Akhilam bhavet mitya ratya purusha vachana prayam. This is a beautiful coinage. It will be like an ignorant mendicant blabbering something and walking away if whatever I say is not Brahmagyanam, if that's not going to give me the Shuddha Bhakti. Bhavat Bhakti Smita Bhavatu Mama Saiva Prashamaya Dasesha Klesha Shaukam Nakalu Hridi Sandega Kanika Nachit Vyasasyoktistavacha Vachanam Naikamavacha Vachanam Naikamavacha Bhaven Nityaradya Purusha Vachana Prayam. Let us see how Bhattadri relied on Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Muninam Apyaham Vyasaha. Among sages, I am Veda Vyasa. This is Krishna Vakyam to Arjuna. Narayanasya Amsajam Ekaputram Dvaipayanam Veda Mahanidanam. Born of a part of Lord Narayana as the only son of Parashara was Dvaipayana or Veda Vyasa, the great treasure house of Vedas. Bhagavad Gita says, Purushassa Parapartaha Bhaktya Labhyas Dvananyaya Yashyantas Tani Bhutani Yena Sarvamidam Tatam. In the words of Paramatma himself to Arjuna, the Supreme Spirit who is greater than all is attainable by unalloyed devotion. The devotion should be Shuddha, Shuddha Bhakti. It should not have any expectation of any benefit from the Lord. I know, Guruvayurappa, I am seeking relief from the ailments. I am also aware that I am seeking relief from my own mental woes. You may blame me by saying it is alloyed. This devotion is Karana Bhakti. No, it is Nishkamya Bhakti, because by getting rid of this and making me ready for Shuddha Bhakti, I would not expect anything excepting your Nama and your feelings inside me, and I should be thinking about you always. And that's the purpose for which I am putting this petition. Although he is present in his abode, Krishna says, I am all pervading and everything is situated within me. Finally, Krishna also says, I said earlier, Manmanam Bhakta Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. It goes back to the same circle. Engage your mind on me, be my devotee, sacrifice unto me and pay obeisance. So thereby you will become a Shuddha Bhakta. So it's again the same theory, chicken or egg. How do we become Shuddha Bhakta? A Shuddha Bhakta is none else than somebody who tries to become a Shuddha Bhakta and he gets a Shuddha Bhakti. Bhattadari asked Guruvayurappan, don't you think, Krishna, that all your above sayings will become worthless if you do not perfect my devotion? You know everything, Krishna, but you have to perfect my devotion. Your devotee, who may have half-hearted desires in my heart, only when you perfect it, I am able to completely integrate myself with you so that you and I become one and the same. Bhaktireva Paramatma Dayini, Bhaktireva Paramatma Bodhini. This is a very standard thing which you all have. You may have listened number of times. Bhaktireva Paramatma Dayini, Bhaktireva Paramatma Bodhini, Bhaktireva Bhavabandha Mochani, Bhaktireva Janani Kalau Nranam. Bhakti is of two kinds. Prema Lakshanam, indicative of intense love, and Upasana Rupam, the form of service to the Lord. The first kind is Bhavat Bhaktistavat Pramukha Madhura. Bhavat Bhakti Tavat Pramukha Madhura Tadguna Rasad Kimapyaruda Cheda Akila Paratapa Prasamani Punashante Swante Vimala Paribode Atayamilam Mahananda Dvaitam Dishati Kimata Pratyamaparam Kimata Pratyam Aparam. This is the second question Bhattacharya says in just 3 slokams. Earlier he said what else is required. Again he puts it in a different manner. Guruvayurappa, the path of devotion is sweet from the beginning, and it only grows with more and more of listening to your greatness. So make my mind prepared to constantly be dwelling in your thought. Either more and more of your katha or even the same old stories. I don't mind listening to Bhagavatam 100 times. This is what Bhattacharya says. I can repeatedly listen to your Leelavatar. Thereby, my mind gets perfected. When my mind gets perfected, there is no intellect anymore. It is total jnanam leading me to bhakti. No matter how many times I hear, I get completely in a bliss. And that bliss takes me to Shuddha Bhakti. Bhakti reaches the crescendo of creating the jnana that purifies the mind, and Bhakta realizes the presence of Brahman in everything purely by the process, not with any thought process, but automatically the process takes him to that level. And it reaches a point that there is no difference between him and Brahman. Philosophically put, the feeling of dualism, me and the Brahman, becomes one. And the same as Advaitananda or me integrates into the Brahman, or as Visitta Advaitam in a qualified non-dualistic state. There again it is non-dual, but it is qualified. You make a process and then you integrate with the Paramatma. Bhattacharya first asked in Shloka, Kim Aparam? What else is to be achieved? Now he is asking, Atak Kim Pratyam Aparam? What else is to be prayed for? We saw Bhakti Lakshanam in a Bhakta just now, and we will see the other part, Upasana Rupam, here in the next 7th sloka. Viduya kleshan me kuru, Viduya kleshan me kuru charana yugmam dhrutarasam, Bhavakshetra pratau karamapichate ujana vidau. Bhavan Mutyaloke Nayana Mathate Pada Tulasi Parigrane Granam Shravanam Avite Charu Charite. Gurayappa, remove my voice. Don't think I am talking to you like a broken record. If the internal and external voice, that's also a karma that you brought upon me, if they are not going to disappear, they are actually distracting my panchangas. So by removing my voice, all my perils and problems, you will be able to divert my panchangas or the 5 organs, feet, hands, eyes, nose and ears towards you in total service to your grace. Why? Because my feet has to really do the travel to the temple. My hands have to do the archanam for you, gather the flowers and do the archanam for you. My eyes have to be constantly looking at you and nothing else in this distracting world. My nose has to really smell the kalavam and kasturi and all that's in your on your Tirumeni. And ears have to listen only to Bhagavan Nama. If all these panchendriyas are going to be dogged, completely blocked by or diverted, thanks to my voice, because I am constantly moaning about my pain and the anxiety caused by the pain, how can I focus all my panchangas on you? You gave me these sanghas only for you, towards your service, but you are not making it to the best of your best of my ability or best of your expectation. This is the only need for me now. I am not asking for anything else. Don't misinterpret Guru Ayyappa as to be a material benefit which I am seeking. I am seeking a benefit so that you clear me, then I become totally one with you. Bhattadri seems motivated by Kulashekara. Let us see Mukundamala. Jihve Kirtaya Keshavam, Jihve Kirtaya Keshavam, Muraripum Chedo Bhajan Shridharam. Pani Dvandva Samachaya Achutagata Totradvayam Tvam Shrudu Krishnam Lokayalo Janadvaya Hare Gachangri Yugmalayam Jigragrana Mukunda Pada Tulasi Mudannam Adhokshajam. Oh, the tongue, Nake, Jihve, praise the glories of Lord Keshava. Oh mind, kindly worship the enemy of Mura. Oh hand, serve the Lord of Sri. Oh ears, hear the Kathamrita of Lord Achyuta. Oh eyes, gaze upon Sri Krishna. Oh feet, go to the temple of Lord Hari, wherever there is Achyavadara Murti of Lord Krishna. Oh nose, smell the Tulasi buds and all that is there on Lord Mukunda's feet. Oh head, bow down to Lord Adokshaja. Sri Ranganatha is known as Adokshaja. Mukundamala says this, and Kulashekara is enjoying how this Panchanga should be in their seva. That is precisely what Bhattadri also said. Kulashekara says to his ears that hearing of the kathas of Achyuta, such as Vibhishana Charanagati, Kakasura Charanagati, Draupadi Charanagati, and Mana Lakshanam, Gajendra Charanagati, Ambarish Charanagati, and you can list a lot of them. Vidura Charanagati, Uddhava Charanagati. How many stories are there about the surrender of Bhaktas, your true Bhaktas, Shuddha Bhaktas? And they never expected anything, but they are always by your side. So, hearing the Kathamritam can only assure one of the secure and delectable experiences of tasting the nectar like Sharanagata Rakshana Anubhava. That's what his plea was as far as this Slokam 7 was concerned. See, there is a beautiful Samhita. Some of you may have heard this name, some it be total strange katha. Satvata Samhita is one of those earlier Samhitas. It says, Sankalpadeva Bhagavan Tattvato Pavitatmanam Prutantam Kalam Sechayutam Mrutenatu. The verse states that the Lord Achyuta blesses those who worship Him with a nectar-like experience of association with Him perpetually, perennially, eternally. Not only in these earthly lives, but gives them permanent refuge at His Padakamalam by driving away afflictions. There are about 70 such ancillary works, little known. Satvata Samhita is one of the 4 Samhitas. Before the time of sage Vyasa, this particular Vyasa, people had a very different understanding of which gods were important than the understanding we have today. The Vedic mantras had not yet been compiled into the 4 books we call the Vedas, but the mantras were still known among men, and they unfortunately led to a skewed perspective on things. Most of the Vedic hymns were addressed to gods like Indra, Agni, Vayu, Surya, Chandra, because they were the most relevant to the Soma Yajna, but people got the impression that they were the supreme gods to be worshipped as perennial supreme gods. It is only after Vyasa composed the Mahabharata and the Puranas, and he completely codified the Vedas for the benefit of ordinary mortals in Dwapara Yugam, that people got a correct view of the importance of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, the order, not in the hierarchy, on the Trimurtis of the same Brahma Swarupam. Until then, they were often viewed as minor deities, and people didn't even realize that Matsya, Kurma, Varaha were all the incarnations of Vishnu. Thanks to Bhagavatam, thanks to Mahabharata and various Puranas, including Vishnu Purana that Veda Vyasa wrote, and thanks to recodification of Vedas, that's why it's called Veda Vyasa. We were able to get all these things by the advent of Dwapara Yuga and going on to Kali Yuga. Before then, how did they manage? Yes, before then also they managed. It is interesting to trace the history of Vaishnavism or the Vishnu worship before Vyasa appeared and cleared things up. Vaishnavism came from many different strands. First of all, there is Vedic Vishnuism, not Vaishnavism. Westerners have done a lot of research on this. The worship of Vishnu as he is described in the Vedas, which mostly involves his incarnation as Vamana. The only one that has been talked about in earlier Samhitas is about Vamana, nothing else. Then there is Pancharatra movement. Many are familiar with the name Pancharatra, but this is the origin of Pancharatra. It was not after Vyasa, it was before Vyasa, which began with the sage. There was a sage called Narayana, an ancient incarnation of Vishnu. This Narayana Maharishi conducted a 5-day yajna, and that's why it's called 5 days and 5 nights, Pancharatra Yajna. That's why that name came. And then became the entire universe. So people started following Pancharatra texts, which have detailed procedures to worship Narayana. Then there is the Bhagavata movement, which worship 4 forms of God: Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. Finally, there is Krishnaism, the worship of Krishna from the advent of Krishna, due to the various miracles he performed in this earth. The Bhagavatas and Pancharatras eventually realized that Narayana was just an incarnation of the Bhagavata deity Vasudeva. So the 2 movements merged into one around the time of Vyasa's birth. And then the Bhagavatas realized that it wasn't a coincidence that the 4 forms of God they worshipped shared the names of Krishna and his family members. And then finally, when people realized that Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu, Vaishnavism as we understand it today was born in full form, since people now knew that Narayana, Vasudeva, Vishnu are all the same God as described by the Narayana Maharishi. The Mahanarayana Upanishad summarizes this insight in its famous verse, Om Narayanaya Vidmahe Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat. There are a number of Samhitas at another time, and unfortunately we don't have any Pancharatra scriptures dating back to before the unification with the Bhagavatas. But we do have Pancharatra texts dating back to the time when Pancharatras and Bhagavatas had become one and the same, but before Krishna had entered into the equation. The oldest of these is Satvata Samhita. From there I did the quotation, which is believed to have been authored by Pancharatra. So there are 1902 publication, 120 years ago a publication was made on Satvata Samhita. It is in electronic form with me. It is from Alashinga Bhatta. There was another book, 1982 publication from Varanasi Sanskrit University. That copy is also with me. Those who are curious about this, they can have copies from me electronically. But there is one catch there. They are all in Sanskrit. Explanation is also in Sanskrit. There are no typical translations in English to enjoy that. Someday we'll at least try and extract some pages out of that and make an English translation. That's one of my projects. God gave me the time and life. Prabhu Tadi Vyadi Prasava Chalite Mamagagridi Tadiyam Tadrupam Paramasuka Chidrupam Utiyat Udanchadro Mancha Galita Baguharsha Srinivako Yata Vismarsyasham Durupashama Pida Paribhavam. Guruvayurappa, I am distracted by my anxieties, my ailments, endless worries, arising out of lack of faith. Can you please make me get away from the self-destructive tendencies by showing your Chidananda Jnana Swarupam? If I experience that with your grace, I will enjoy the romancham, an ecstatic melting right in front of you, Guruvayurappa, so that I completely forget my woes. Earlier I asked you, Guruvayurappa, to cure my woes and relieve my anxieties. Now I am not going to do that. I don't even have that Kamyartha prayer. The only request I have is, just remove the self-destructive tendencies. How can you do it? Show me instantly. Ananda Jnana Swarupam by a microsecond, nanosecond, and that will cure me. I won't even remember. Even if it doesn't cure, I won't remember what I am struggling. I will enjoy the romancham and ecstatic melting. Marugye gadi sadvaikalu parancho visukino bhavat snehi sogam subhagu parita priye chakimidam akirtiste mahabhu Varada Gadha Bharam Prashamayan Bhavat Bhaktotamsam Jatiti Kuruma Kamsadamana. Guruvayurappa, this seems to be common lament of all of us, not only me. Millions of people who need your grace now. Those who believe in God always ask frustrating question arising out of doubts on the equanimity and justice in his realm. In other words, he gives a long prelude. You know why? Tappu pandravalla nanna irukaya, na matti aya kashtapadren. This is our standard refrain. This is what Bhattadri says. All the problematic fellows who don't even believe in God, they seem to enjoy fantastic. Look at me. I want only your bhakti. How much I am struggling. Such questions are more applicable in current context when we feel the same way. For those who do not do all kinds of atrocities of all methods possible, they seem to have a luxurious and comfortable life, even healthy life, whereas the faithful, honorable and downtrodden common folks suffer endlessly. This is the current plight. But Bhattadri talks about it, but he limits his laments differently. Hey Marugehadisha, those who do not have any devotion for you are enjoying. That's what he says. He's not talking about the material benefit. But I seem to be suffering the most, although I am constantly in prayers and in dedication to you. I am worried that you will be accused of indifference. You know what Bhattadri says? You will be accused by other bhaktas of your indifference towards me. That will create a blasphemy. You will have a blasphemous name because you are not taking care of your bhakta. Therefore, the destroyer of Kamsa, please remove my ailments and all the woes, so that you don't get the bad name and you also make me the best of your bhaktas automatically. Nidaya Radha Ramani Daya Radha Kadene Varebaru Kalyana Rama. Who is there to object, Rama? Won't your mercy descend on me? There is a charanam which is not normally sung. Everybody sings Rama Rama Tyagaraja Krit Sadhana. Annitiki nadi karuda nine pogadite manninchite nidu magimaguta guvani daya radha. Even when I extol you as a master of everything, Annitiki nadi karudani, would it diminish your greatness if you forgive me? Won't your mercy descend on me? Tyagaraja must have done about 200 kritis out of 630 kritis available. Most of them are only seeking Rama's grace, admonishing or doing Hindastuti, and not saving him as he would have very much wished. He says Bhattadri at least camouflages his Ninda, but Tyagaraja is pretty open about that. Often he says that if a Bhakta like Tyagaraja is ignored, Rama will only end up getting a bad name. There are so many songs. Yethuda Nilisite Nidu Sommulemi Povura. That's the Shankarapuranam song. And there again, there is a third charanam which specifically talks exactly like what Bhattadri said. Tarana Dorakani Parakuna Yadanu Rama Jesite Sura Surulu Metura Ibudu E Harami Tanamu. One may wonder, is Harami is Telugu? No, it is Urdu word. Unfortunately, it has stuck into Telugu for the last 400 years. Yelara Bhakta Tyagarajanuta Nayatuda. Rama shows such an unprecedented unconcern towards me. Nobody has ever known that you can be so unconcerned towards your Bhakta. That is his complaint here. Then there is another song in Shankarapuranam. Maryada Kadura, Karunakara Varini Virini. In other words, he says, Karunakara Varini Virini Sarijesi Chuchuchunu Undanadi. In other words, he says, it's not fair to be equating all and sundry. Nanu Matavalu Onnapa. Eppozhum always I am doing Charanagati to you, Guruvayurappa, on your feet. But look at others. They don't do anything. That's what Tyagaraja says. Varini Virini Karunakara Sarijesi. You are equated useless fellows and great bhaktas. Is that proper? This is Maryada Kadura. Then finally Tyagaraja also gets bored of his own lamenting. He starts begging what Bhattadri is going to beg in the next one. Bhakti Bichami Yavar Bhavugamagu Satvika Bhakti Bichami Yavar. Rama, give me devotion. Bhakti Bicham Yare. Deign to grant me alms of auspicious, pure, desireless devotion. Bhakti Bicham. This bhakti is desireless devotion. Without any kamyam, nishkamam. And there's a beautiful charanam there which talks exactly what Bhattadri has done. Tyagaraja has probably taken the spirit from him. Ironically, whatever Tyagaraja sang was no different than what Bhattadri and great number of saints and sadhus and bhaktas did over thousands of years. Kajol, praise, and when suffering and frustrated, do the Nindastuti, and finally plead, and of course do the Sharanagati. Sharanagati is coming here in final thing. Ki muktaihi bhuyabi tavahi karuna yavadudiya aham tavaddeva prahita vividata pralabida Purakkal prute pade Varadatavaneshami divasan Yata shakti vyaktam Nati nudini sheva virajayan. Bhattadri finally reconciles that any further lament or complaint is not going to expedite matters. He then gives a solution for himself and to Bhagavan and to all others in his plight. Deva, Guruvayurappa, Kaliyuga Varada. He uses the term Varada here. Varada is somebody who grants boons. Whatever you ask, he gives. He says, Varada, what is the use of lamenting my own fate and more words? All this will be futile if your grace does not descend on me. Therefore, I shall give up all this mourning and spend the rest of my life at the lotus feet of your image installed in this great temple of Guruvayur. I will not ask you anything more hereafter. I will only talk about your Kathamritam. No more lamentation. Or even at those of the divine form which I am able to visualize when I am not in the temple, when I am outside, whatever that my inner conscience brings it up to me as Guruvayurappan, it is enshrined in my heart. By the time I think about it, my woes should automatically disappear. Why should I lament and seek something from you? I myself know the cure now, because I have to think of you constantly and perpetually. I shall do whatever little I can to worship you with prostration, do the pradakshanams of your praharam, singing your praise, repeating your countless names to the best of my abilities, and await your grace. I will not settle for anything other than this great boon. If you are going to distract me and say, I will give you Indra Padavi, I will do this, I will do that, I don't want anything. I just want to be thinking of you. I want to really feel you. I want to feel you inside. Pachai Mamalai Pol Meni Pavalavai Kamalach Chengan Achuta Amarar Yere Ayartham Kolunde Yennum Ichuvai Tavirayan Boy Indiralogamadum Achuvai Perinum Venden Arangaman Agarulane Bhakta என்று சொல்லப்பட்ட தொண்டரடி பொய்யாழ்வார் செய்த சரணாகதி இது.
நாராயண 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 நாராயண